Hello, everyone. This is the True Texan here, and I just wanted to say this TYT video, Big Pharma Family Plan to Profit from Addiction, is probably the best TYT video out there. It's probably the closest video you will ever get to TYT not saying a single lie and being 100% truthful, honest, and having 100% of the facts on their side. That's probably the closest you will get.
Our next clip is brought to you in part off. Head over
1,600.
Who cares about
TYT
blah, blah, blah.
or use the promo code TYT.
Blah, blah.
The Sackler family, the incredibly wealthy family behind Purdue Pharma, is facing 1,600 different lawsuits because of the opioid crisis in America. And through some of these investigations, it has been determined that the Sackler family not only profited handsomely off of the endorsement and the push for OxyContin, they also planned to profit handsomely off of rehabilitation efforts. So the business potential of adding addiction treatment to the mix.
What she said there is true. And the reason why I know it's true is because I got sources outside of TYT saying it. So what she said there is 100% accurate and true.
Titled Project Tango was illustrated in internal company charts and diagrams. So in these charts and in these documents, it was noted that pain treatment and addiction are naturally linked. Now remember, Purdue Pharma is in a lot of trouble because they purposely tried to hide the fact that OxyContin was an addictive drug.
And that is true. They did purposely try to hide it. And again, I got this outside of TYT first. So it is confirmed. Everything Anna is saying with her annoying voice is true.
They were also pushing doctors to prescribe the drug, knowing that it could be harmful. Yes, the Sackler family's statements said the lawsuits ignore the fact that the Sackler family has long been committed to initiatives that prevent abuse and addiction, citing what it characterized as a philanthropic donation from the family to an addiction research treatment center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, if you read that, you probably think, wait, that does sound familiar. Where did I hear that they were planning on donating $75 million to a rehabilitation center? Oh, that's right. You probably think, wait, that does sound familiar.
Where do you get that specific number from in this quote? Nowhere. I don't see it. Do you see it? And like I said, this is probably the closest. This is nitpicking. This is probably the closest we will ever get to them being 100% honest. This is just probably her misspeaking with Anna's annoying voice. Very, very annoying voice. You know, can you get someone else? Chinks, of course. Chinks laugh. Anna in her voice and Anna in her laugh. Those things, Chink and Anna just need to go. Chink needs to never laugh again. Never say of course again. Never do his cringy impressions. And Anna just needs to shut up and never talk anymore. They need other people that at least do not hurt your ears.
Where did I hear that they were planning on donating $75 million to a rehabilitation center? Oh, that's right. Here, we talked about that just last week when we covered the settlement that Purdue Pharma struck with.
I don't know if they talked about it last week. This is TYT. They could very well be lying about it, but I can't say they are. So I don't know. They might be lying. They might be telling the truth. I don't know. I didn't see the video.
The state of Oklahoma. In fact, the $75 million contribution to be made over 5 years was a condition of the court-approved settlement of an opioid lawsuit brought by the Oklahoma Attorney General against Purdue. So they were trying to spin it as if, no, what are you guys talking about? We've been doing a lot of important work in helping to support these rehabilitation centers. No, you haven't. You had to do this as part of the condition of the settlement in that lawsuit with Oklahoma.
So let's talk a little bit more about Tango and Cash. When they say pain treatment and addiction are naturally linked, that is a very important admission, because for a very long time, they have been saying, oh, no, OxyContin is not necessarily addictive at all. And it's the way that it does slow release of the medicine here prevents addiction. Meanwhile, they're like, well, we know it's addictive, so now let's try to figure out how to make money on the back end, right?
Normally, Cenk is correct about what they were saying in public, and Cenk is also correct on what they say in private. Normally, when he tries to do private talk, there's like no facts or basis to back it up, and he just ends up wrong. He's just, putting thoughts in people's heads and putting words in people's mouths. But in this case, it's true, because there's actual facts to back up what he's saying. Like I said, I am impressed, because not only do I agree with what they're saying, because this is not the first time I've agreed with them, so I'm not impressed with that, but I don't have a lot of issues with this video so far. Most of the time, even if there's something that I agree with, there's issues with the video.
We make money on the front end by getting people hooked. And what is it in the first place? Do you guys know what it is? The reason it's called an opioid is because it's opium. They legalized opium, and they had people in suits sell it, and they bought off politicians. And that's not just Purdue. That's the entire drug industry. They're the number one donors to politicians because they're selling drugs. They legalized the...
Okay, so... not necessarily true. They don't buy off all the politicians. Okay? I'm sorry, but false. They don't buy off all the politicians.
Worst kind of drugs. They made the safest drugs, like marijuana, illegal. Mm-hmm. They made the most addictive drugs legal. They bought off all the politicians. And so, but now we know that they knew all along. And so they talk about a funnel. The fat end of the funnel was labeled pain treatment, and the narrow end was labeled opioid addiction treatment. That means let's get everybody hooked. That's the top of the funnel, the fat end of the tunnel, okay? And once we do, we'll filter down the people that need treatment for that addiction we created in the first place. So we make money at the top of the funnel and all the way through the funnel to the end. In fact, they call it that they would be, quote, end-to-end pain provider. Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, that's a Goldman Sachs level move. See, that's three-dimensional chess. When Goldman Sachs created junk assets based on the housing bubble, mm-hmm. and they made money on those assets, and then they turn around and shorted the market and bet against the assets, and that was end-to-end cash for Goldman Sachs as our economy cratered. In this case, it's end-to-end money for Purdue, while people get hooked on opioids, and a lot of them, tens of thousands of them, died.
So I got to give you more details on what we've been finding through these investigations. So manufacturers funded front groups that were disguised as unbiased sources of cutting-edge medical research and information. So in other words, physicians were paid as consultants to further spread their message. The companies claimed that opioids were safer than high doses of acetaminophen and other anti-inflammatory agents that were there, that there was a minuscule risk of addiction. So there were other painkillers that people could have used that were not addictive, but through the push...
No, like I said, this is minor nitpicks. They were less addictive, very much less addictive, but they weren't completely unaddictive.
And the pressure from Purdue Pharma, doctors decided to prescribe these painkillers that are addictive and, of course, have been very destructive for families throughout the country. Yes, and also, since OxyContin came on the market, more than 200,000 Americans have died of overdoses related to prescription opioids, as reports of overdoses grew, Richard Sackler urged the company to blame the patients. So here's a direct quote.
Wow.
We have to hammer on abusers in every way possible.
Sick.
They are the culprits and the problem. They are reckless criminals.
This is sick, because that quote is 100%. That's what was said. That's what they said. That's actually what they said, and it's sickening.
Disgusting. That is what Purdue Pharma was doing.
It is disgusting.
So they've lost the country here because this does not affect only a certain demographic. It affects all Americans, white, black, Latino, it doesn't matter. And they also lost conservative media, which is usually the top defenders of corporate wrongdoing. Why?
Voss are not the top defenders of corporate wrongdoings. They're just the top defenders of freedom.
Rush Limbaugh is also an addict. So they got no one left now, and they're in a world of trouble. As well they should be, because in a sense, they put this...
They should be in a world of trouble because this is sickening.
Toxic stuff in our bloodstream for decades.
It's very
Two easy ways to follow the Young Turks.
Now, like I said, a lot of it is mostly not minor nitpicks. He took uncalled for jabs at Republicans, just to jab at Republicans. I took some jabs at them just because they deserve it. They take jabs, I'll give them jabs. But this is probably the best and most accurate video you will ever have of TYT, where they get as close. This is the closest you will ever have where they're speaking 100% the truth. At least in my opinion.